Kane 358 Flue Gas Analyser review and demonstration. My name's Alan Hart, and in today's video I'm back at Viva Training Academy. I'm back with Roy, the expert trainer. Roy's been a trainer for many years, and we've got the new Kane 358 on test at Viva now. So Roy's going to go through the analyzer, unbox it, show you all about it, but then he's going to go through testing on the boiler, go through the combustion test, also go through tightness testing. So we've got a gas meter here, and he's going to go through the tightness testing and showing you how you can use your analyzer to also do a tightness test. But why that's a good thing is you can also print it out, so you've got proof that when you worked on the boiler or when you worked on the gas installation, you've got proof that it were okay and the system was sound. So yeah, so without further ado, let's go over to Roy, and Roy can explain in great detail how this analyzer works. This video is for gas safe, registered and trainee gas engineers under supervision. Please comply with the current regulations at the time.
Thanks, Al. Hi guys, it's Roy Fugler here at the Viva Training Academy over in Halifax, and today I'm like a kiddie at Christmas. I've got a new toy. Not that it is a toy, it's the new Kane 358 analyzer. It's just been launched and I've been sent one to have a look at. I've used Kane analyzers for a long time, starting way back as a Potterton service engineer with the Kane 900, which was just a pure analyzer, moving on then to the Kane 425s, the 455, my current analyzer is a 458. So without further ado, let's crack on and have a look. So it comes in the standard Kane small bag. This is the kit. So it's got the analyzer and the printer in there. There are going to be variants, so you'll be able to get extra probes and things like that as it goes through. So we'll start unpacking it. So typically we just do the clips, pop that open, and we've got the literature pack. So in here, I'll just pop these things out so you can see what comes in there. So there's a little bag with some connections on there, a new filter, and a little condensate drain plug, so I'll come back to that. Business card with both the southern and northern service centre numbers. A quick guide to using the analyzer and how to set it up, but it's very straightforward and we're going to go through that with you. There's also about the Kane Assist programme. And then there's another leaflet which talks about the servicing process and the Kane dashboard. So for anybody that's got a Kane analyzer already, you'll probably have been signed up to the dashboard. And that's a way of a reminder your service is due on your analyzer, and a way of getting your analyzer to Kane and getting it back quickly. And then we've got the all-important test report there. So that's the legal document that says it's been calibrated and it's all ready for use. So that's in the literature pack, so we'll pop them out of the way, so we don't need those at the moment. So in there's the analyzer, quite a modern looking analyzer compared to the old Kane, but they've kept the dial, which is really important to me. As a trainer, one of the things I look for with equipment is how simple it is to train new starters, as well as existing engineers, because existing engineers have probably used analyzers, but the new starters, which is predominantly what I'm involved with now at Viva, they've never used an analyzer, they've probably never even heard of an analyzer, so by able to show them how easy and simple it is, so the rotary dial is very important. So what's the difference between this and the other analyzers in the Kane range? Well, the 258 is the entry level. That's a basic simple analyzer, does everything that most guys want, but this has got a little bit more, which we'll come on to. And then the flagship is the 458S, that's the top of the range. So why have Kane introduced this? The idea behind this analyzer is for companies like social housing, local authorities, where you don't need all the facilities of the 458S, So you're wanting to save a little bit of money on facilities, but you still want all the benefits of being able to do a tightness test and a combustion test, which the 258 doesn't have. So there's a sticker on there with the serial number saying register the analyzer. So once we've registered it, we can peel that sticker off. It comes already pre-fitted with some rechargeable batteries. So I'm just going to pop that over there. So we'll start up at the top, and I'll put my specs on so you can see what I'm doing. So we've got an on-off button on the top, so that's how we turn it on. And then we've got the various settings. So we've got menu, status, auxiliary, O2 and efficiency, ratio, pressures and temperature, and test. They're all the things I've got on my 458, and I've got the room CO. That's one of the things that's missing off this, the room CO. But unless you're going to get involved in potential incidents or needing to check if appliances are giving off CO into the room, you don't really need that facility. So we're going to start off by turning it on. So we'll pop the button to turn it on. So it's going through a quick purge. Now this is one of the advantages of the new one compared to my 458. My 458 was a 90-second purge, and 90 seconds seems a long time when you're waiting for it. This is a 30-second purge, so it's counting down now, going down to 12. We've got the timing there, and we've got full battery indicator. So we're down to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it now shuts off. Now on this one which says tests, we've got the option we can do tightness test or combustion test. We're going to go into the workshop and fire this up and go through that live so you can see how those work. So all we need to do to change over is use the up or down arrow. So the down arrow will change it to combustion test, back up to tightness test, round to combustion test. So that combustion test, if you're not familiar with this, it will talk you through what you need to do to complete benchmark. So it's a really good, useful tool for new starters, particularly because it's going through the benchmark, all the tests that you do for benchmark. So your flue integrity test, your maximum, your minimum flue gas analysis. Also then you can do your temperatures, but we'll come back onto that. So we go around, we've got pressure and temperature. So we can put some temperature probes in, and we'll come on to those shortly. And you can pop your manometer tube. Now it is a differential manometer, so you can do P1 and P2, so positive and negative. So if you're just doing standard working pressures, burner pressures, you'll be in P1. If you wanted to do a differential pressure for setting certain gas valves up, where you need to check the air and the gas, that's where you'd be using P2. That's normally teed into the air supply, and that's what that's for. We're then going on to ratio, so it started up. So we've got the standard ratio, CO, CO2, excess air, pressure, so we can do the pressures, and then we've got the time on there. O2 and efficiency, so we've got the oxygen content. We've then got the efficiency, T1, T2 and delta T, so we've got temperature 1, temperature 2 and the temperature differential. So we can do that if we're wanting to check things like radiators and the differential across the radiator, across the boiler. Again, for benchmark we need to put that information in. The auxiliary screen, and I'm just going to turn the pump off. There we go, so it's a bit quieter, so I'm not having to talk over that. The auxiliary screen, now you can program, going through this, out the different settings that you want on there. My 458, I've got that programmed up, so I've got CO, carbon monoxide, CO2, carbon dioxide, the ratio of the two. I've then got O2, I've got pressure, and I've got the fuel. So there, everything I need for a combustion test all on one screen, which I find really, really useful. So that's the main setting I tend to use when I'm doing servicing and maintenance checks. That's what I have mine set on. Then I've got a status screen, so it tells me it's natural gas, it tells me the temperature, it even tells me at what sea level I'm at in the atmosphere. Dates to calibration, the serial number and the time, and then I've got a menu so I can go into different things. I can change things like the header. I can put my company name in and my telephone number if I wanted to. So when I print a sheet off for a customer, that's all in there. That's all printed onto that day, the date and time and everything. So it proves when it was done. It's got the figures in there. So you're basically covering yourself. If there's anybody, any question, whoever questions, what were the readings when you did it, they're all there and it's printed off, and you can leave that with the customer. So that's the analyzer. We're going to come back to that a little bit later on. Right, so we put the analyzer to bed. So the next thing, in the top pouch, I've got 2 manometer tubes. So we get a couple of manometer tubes. And as we saw earlier on, in the little bag, that's where we get the connections for the manometer tube. So we get 2, so if we're doing differential pressures, just a little tip with these guys. What I tend to do, because with this Rothenberger type hose, it is barbed, is the connection, but what I like to do is just push them that little bit further over so they form a better seal. I'm not saying it would leak, but that way it's not going to come out. So that's what I tend to do with these. You could put a little cable tie around, because as you'll see in a second or two, when I get the analyzer probe out itself, they've cable tied the connection for that. Now, one of the things that you could potentially get wrong with the 458, and I've seen guys do it, the connections were the same size whether you were doing pressure or analysation. If I just get the analyzer connection out, you'll notice there that they're a different size and they're colour coded. So the analyzer's red, the pressure's is black, and it's a double O-ring seal on there. So we'll get the probe out. This is a new probe, new compared to mine. Nice sturdy handle. One of the features I like about it, the little movable cone, it doesn't slip back, and also it can't fall off the end. I've heard of guys with the other types of cones where they're not secured, they've slipped off the end and they've lost them. So it's quite a decent length of tube. So that's the connection on there that goes into the analyzer, and then you've got the temperature connection. It's a K-type thermocouple, so that's 2 different blades, different sizes, they pop in, and that's what reads the temperature. So when we're doing the combustion efficiency, we've got a probe on at the end, so we can do that. So I'll just pop that to one side, and then the last thing we'll get out is the printer. So it comes with a printer. The batteries aren't installed as they are on the analyzer, so you've got to install the batteries. It's pretty straightforward. Remove it out of the boot, pop the batteries in, and there's a little sticker on there that says put your batteries in before you use it. They are rechargeable batteries in both the analyzer and the printer, and to that end, in the bag you actually get 2 chargers. So you get 2 little USB to mini USB connection and 2 chargers. So you've got a spare one, which is really good, just in case, like me, you sometimes lose things. So you can charge both up at the same time or charge them individual. If I'm being totally honest, the printer, my printer, I probably only charge it up maybe once every couple of months. I don't use it a great deal with being in at Viva, but it does hold charge quite a long time. The analyzers, you'll probably find that you're getting 2 or 3 days depending on the amount of jobs you're doing. If you're doing installs, you're probably going to get a week out of a charge. If you're doing breakdowns, you're probably going to get 3 or 4 days. The one thing that I've found with any analyzer, and just a great tip, not just for security, but for the life of the analyzer, always take it out of your vehicle at night. Don't leave them in your vehicle. There's robbers out there, they'll steal them. The good thing about Kane is when you register the analyzer, they've got the serial number. It would need calibrating. If somebody bought it not knowing it was stolen, they send it for calibration. It's not going to get calibrated, it's going to get held, and hopefully you get the analyzer back. But if we're not leaving in the vehicles, They don't like the changes in temperature, particularly in winter. I've had an analyser when I was at Baxter, foolishly left it in the van overnight, came to use it the next day, and it just didn't want to know. I had to warm it up, give it a bit of a cuddle before it would work. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go into the workshop and we're going to show you some of these features on there on a live boiler. Right, so we've now come into the workshop at Viva. So we've got an installation here with a Worcester Green Star system, boiler, gas meter, cylinder and all the system. You may see things which aren't quite to current standards because we are a training facility. We have got faults set up on here, so if you do see something that's not quite right, you can comment on it, well spotted, but it's because we're a training facility. So I'm going to go through doing a tightness test using the tightness test facility. So the first thing I need to do, I'm on tests, but at the moment it says combustion test, so I just need to change that. So I'm using the down arrow to tightness. The next thing I'm going to do is push the button so it says zero pressure. It wants me to zero the analyzer, so it's making sure I'm zeroed. So it's going to count down now, so it's zeroing it, so it's setting it up, and it counts down. So it's asking me, do I want to do a let-by test? Well, yes, I want to do a let-by test. So the next thing, I'm going to turn the gas off on the emergency control valve. I'm just going to remove the meter test point. Now, I'm using a 10mm nut driver. You could use a screwdriver, but I tend to use a nut driver. I'm going to pop the tube on there. So yes, I want to do a let-by test. It's now asking me to set my pressure. So as we all know, on a let-by, what we're looking for is somewhere between 7 and 10. So I'm just opening that nice and gently. So I'm getting some pressure coming in. So as we can see, we've got very little movement between the start pressure and the finish pressure. So that's our let-by. So the next thing we're going to do is stabilisation. So we just need to pop the pressure up now, as we know for our test. Up to around about 20 millibar if I can get it pretty accurate. Right, so as you can see, we've got it set at 20.57 millibar, so we push the start button and it's going to count down for 60 seconds. The purpose of stabilisation, as some of you guys will know, if it's cold outside, we're letting cold gas into a warm house, so potentially that gas is going to contract, so it's going to go down. The other one is if we're warming, if we've finished soldering pipework and then we're putting gas into that hot pipework, as that pipework cools down, it could cause a drop in pressure. So we could have an increase in pressure as we get cold gas coming into a warm house, or a drop in pressure as we get warm pipes and cool gas. So that's the purpose of stabilisation. And what we're looking for is, really, it doesn't matter if we get any movement, because it's all to do with the expansion and the contraction of gas. So we've done the let-by, we've done the stabilisation, so the next one is the actual 2-minute test. So we're still between 20-21 millibar, so we're okay with that. So that's the pressures we're going to test at. So we're now going to push the start button, and it's now going to count down 2 minutes. So the tightness test is 2 minutes. So as you can see, we've got the pressure it started at, which was 20.50, and the pressure as we've got now is 20.46. So we'll leave that and see what we end up with after the 2 minutes. Obviously, we are allowed permissible drops depending on the type of meter and things like that. So as you can see, we've now completed the test. So the next thing we would do is just turn the printer on. We've got close distance between the printer, so it's going to do it automatically. We just hit the print, and then it sends that record up onto the printer, just so we've got a record of our tightness test. We've got the time and date set up on there, so it's all logged, so we can prove in the future, if anybody questions, what our tightness test was, what the results were. We've now got the tightness test is all there in black and white, timed and dated, so that will act as our reference. Right, so we completed the tightness test using the Kane 358. So the last thing we need to do, we've got the gas already off, so I'm going to remove the manometer tube and then pop the test nipple back in, making sure I don't damage it, don't cross thread it, I don't do anything stupid. So I'll get that in there. Don't over tighten these because you can snap them in there. So once that's back on, pop my gas on, not forgetting to spray my test point. And then, just to complete, just wipe that off once I've checked it. So that's doing the tightness test on a Kane 358. So the next thing that we're going to progress on to, we're going to go through a combustion test with it. Right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to do a combustion test as if we were just installed this boiler. Obviously it's been in a while, so the combustion test we're going to do is what's laid out in the manufacturer's instructions, and it forms part of benchmark. Benchmark is a legal document, it's law, it's got to be filled in for manufacturer's warranties. So this is where the analyzer can really help you. So we've just done a tightness test, so I'm just using, we're still on test, so I'm just going to scroll down to combustion test. I've got the flue gas analyzer probe fitted in there, so I'm just going to push the button, and what it's doing now, it's going through a purge. It's clearing, it's making sure that it's all clean air. We'd normally do this outside to make sure we're getting clean air coming through. And once it's done that, all we need to do is just push the start button, and it's telling me to set the boiler to maximum gas. So what we're going to do now, we'll zoom in so you can see what's happening, and I'm going to talk you through that. So the next thing is putting the boiler on to maximum, as it said. So on this Worcester, you hold the reset button in for about 5 seconds. And it's totally on max. We've got the chimney sweep button. So we do that on the analyzer, we just push the next button. So it's probing fresh air. So that's purging it through. So we've done that. So it's now going through a minute's calibration. So it's calibrating itself in clean fresh air. So it's asking us, is the boiler stable on maximum? Yes, so we push next. Insert the probe into the air inlet. So basically what we're doing, we're checking the integrity of the air inlet to making sure we're breathing nice, clean, fresh air in. So we're in there, and we're checking the level of oxygen in the incoming air. If there was any problem with the flue seals and we're getting cross-contamination, we'd be getting a reduced amount of oxygen. The figure we're looking for is anything over 20.6%. So we're happy with that, so we can go on to the next stage. So it's now pop it into the flue. So we're in the flue, we've turned it on, now it's now picking up the flue gases. So we're still on maximum. So we're looking for the readings to stabilise. So it's not jumping up and down and moving about. So we're on there, 9.6% CO2, CO at 33 parts per million, that's moving slightly, and the ratio 0.0004. So the next stage is to push the button because we've got a reasonably stable reading. So it wants us to put it into minimum, so what we do, we use the down arrow on the hot water to turn the boiler down to minimum. Wait for it to go down to minimum. So we're just going to use the up and down arrow on the analyzer now to decide that we're going to go on to next, because we could finish. Some boilers you can't put down to minimum, so therefore you'd finish. This one we can, so we're doing that. So it's now checking the minimum gas, so we allow this to stabilise. So what we'll notice, because we're burning less gas, the CO is going to come down. We're going to produce less carbon monoxide, and the ratio in turn should also come down. So as we can see, the reading now, after 30-40 seconds, it's stabilising. We've got CO2 9.1, CO's down to about 11, and the ratio's gone right down to 0.001. So we push the next button, and what it's asking us to do now is connect a couple of probes onto the flow and return to measure the flow and return differential. So we've connected the probes up, and we're just going to hit the next button. So what we've got flow and return temperature, but we need to put it back up to maximum. So we use the plus button, so that's going to get it ramping up. It's going to measure the difference between the flow and return. It's important when you get the clamps on that you get a good contact on the pipe, on both the flow and return pipe, just to make sure you're picking up an accurate reading. Now, as you can see, I've made a mistake, which sometimes can happen. T1, I've got a lower temperature than T2. That just means to say that I've got the clamps the wrong way around. So I'll just swap them over. So these particular clamps didn't come as part of this basic 358 kit. They're extra. I already had those clamps on my 458, so we've popped them on. They are an accessory, and you will be able to purchase them with the 358, but it doesn't come with the standard kit that we've been testing, so they're extras. So we can see there we've got T1 just shy of 60 degrees. On the front of the boiler it's saying 65, and then the return temperature at 50. So we've got a differential in flow and return of just about 10 degrees. So we push the next button, and then that's got the log, so we can print everything off. So we'll just pop it on the front. I'll get my printer, turn the power onto the printer, and that's going to print the combustion test. So for when you're filling the benchmark in, that's your combustion test. And at the back of the book, you've got your benchmark. So as you're filling your benchmark in, all your figures there, you can transcribe them from your printout onto your benchmark, and then you can staple that there so you've got proof. So anybody looking at it, for instance a manufacturer's engineer coming out wanting to check it's been installed correctly, the figures are on the printout, they're on the benchmark, so they know that the figures have been done correctly. So that's just how to do the combustion test on these analysers. So I hope that's been useful for you, this review of the 358. It's a great bit of kit. We've got some on trial at Viva, we've been using them there, and I've been using one out in the field for a couple of weeks, and I find that it's a really nice bit of kit, and it's an improvement on my 458. So thanks very much for watching. It's been Roy Fugler at Viva, and until next time, bye bye.
Thank you once again for that, Roy, and once again thank you to Viva Training Academy for all the help and support that they're giving to new trainees into the industry. Also gas engineers that's been doing it a long time as well. I always learn or pick up something when I come and spend some time with Roy. Roy's an absolute genius, so I really yeah, it's brilliant. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments below. If you'd like us to do any other type of videos, again, if you can put some comments below, it's really helpful. Also, if you can put a thumbs up, that'd be really good. And thanks for watching.